The massive view screen in Dr. Sarah Chen's laboratory displayed the same message for the third time that morning. She read it again, her hands trembling as she gripped the edge of her workstation. The galactic hegemony's emblem pulsed gently at the top of the screen, its swirling alien script translated into Earth standard below. Note IC, population optimization, initiative, implementation dat, effective, immediately, target reducition. 70% of CURRENT, human reproductive capability. Sarah closed her eyes, remembering the day 30 years ago, when the hegemony ships first appeared in Earth's skies. They had come with promises of advancement, of sharing their vast knowledge with humanity. Her parents had been among the first to welcome them, believing in the dream of a united galaxy. Now, in 2457, that dream had become a nightmare. Through the laboratory's window, she could see the massive extraction towers that dotted Singapore's coastline. Where fishing boats once sailed, alien machines now drained the oceans of minerals the hegemony needed for their vast empire. Similar scenes played out across Earth, humanity reduced to nothing more than a convenient workforce for their alien protectors. The door chimed, and Sarah quickly switched her screen to display genetic sequencing data. Her supervisor, Override Commander Kexti, glided into the room on his anti-gravity platform. Like all members of the hegemony's ruling class, his crystalline body structure caught the light in ways that would have once seemed beautiful to Sarah. Now it only reminded her of the cold, unfeeling nature of their oppressors. Progress report, Human Chen, Kexti demanded, his translated voice lacking any emotion. The genetic compliance markers are showing expected results, Commander. Sarah lied smoothly, her heart pounding. 6 years of working in the hegemony's genetics facility had taught her how to hide her true feelings. No anomalies to report. But there were anomalies. Massive ones. Sarah had discovered them 3 months ago and had been carefully documenting them ever since. The human genome was doing something unprecedented. It was adapting. Not slowly, over generations, but rapidly, within individual lifetimes. The neural control implants that the hegemony used to ensure worker compliance were becoming less effective every day. Their biological control agents, designed to keep humans docile, were being neutralized by previously unknown immune responses. Humanity's DNA was literally learning to resist oppression. After Kexti left, Sarah pulled up her hidden research files. The data was clear. This wasn't just random mutation. Somehow, the collective experience of human resistance throughout history had become encoded in their genes. Every failed attempt to control humans left behind a legacy, a genetic memory that made the next attempt even less likely to succeed. Her computer pinged with an encrypted message. It was from Marcus Rodriguez, a former Marine she'd been secretly sharing her findings with. The message was brief. Singapore orbital shipyards. Workers showing signs. It's starting. Sarah looked out her window again, this time focusing on the massive space elevator in the distance. Up there, humans worked in conditions that would have been considered criminal 3 decades ago. But something was changing. The hegemony's announcement of mass sterilization wasn't just about population control. They were afraid. They had detected humanity's growing resistance to their control methods, and this was their desperate attempt to stop it. As she watched a worker transport pod climb the space elevator's carbon fiber cable, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The hegemony didn't understand what they had done. By pushing humanity to its breaking point, they had awakened something that had been sleeping in human DNA since the first cave person stood up to a stronger tribe's aggression. The unstoppable force of human defiance. The breaking point had arrived. And this time, humanity wouldn't just fight back. They would become something new. Something that no empire, no matter how ancient or powerful, could ever hope to control. Marcus Rodriguez crouched in the shadows of Loading Bay 7, watching the massive cargo ships arrive at the Singapore orbital shipyards. His neural implant buzzed, demanding he return to his workstation. He ignored it. The hegemony's control device hadn't worked on him for weeks now, And he wasn't the only one. Around him, other workers moved with a new purpose. Their movements seemed clumsy and slow to the watching alien overseers, but Marcus knew better. Every stumble was planned. Every drop tool was intentional. The slowdown had begun. His comm unit vibrated silently against his wrist. The message from Dr. Chen was simple. Test results confirmed. It's in our DNA. Marcus smiled, remembering their first meeting 6 months ago. She had reached out to the Resistance after discovering something incredible in the human genetic code. At first, he hadn't believed her. The idea that human DNA could adapt and resist alien control seemed impossible. But the proof was all around him now. 3 levels above, a crash echoed through the shipyard. A worker had accidentally dropped a container of valuable reactor parts. The alien overseer rushed over, its crystalline body flashing angry colors. It activated its neural control panel, trying to force the humans nearby to work faster. Nothing happened. Marcus watched as confusion spread through the alien's color patterns. It tried again, increasing the power. The workers continued their slow, deliberate pace. One of them looked directly at the overseer and smiled. His comm unit buzzed again. Messages were coming in from resistance cells worldwide. In the mines of South Africa, human workers were ignoring commands to dig deeper. In the North American processing plants, production had dropped to half its normal rate. The neural implants that had kept humanity in check for 30 years were failing everywhere. But it was more than just resistance to control. Workers were displaying skills they had never learned. Maintenance crews could suddenly understand and improve alien technology. Security systems that had been unbreakable yesterday were being bypassed today. It was as if humanity's collective knowledge was spreading through some invisible network. Marcus made his way to the shipyard's main control room. The plan had been months in preparation. Dr. Chen's research had shown them why the hegemony was really implementing their sterilization program. They weren't just trying to control population growth. They were terrified of what humanity was becoming. "Ready?" he whispered into his comm unit. Responses came back from across the shipyard. In the darkness of maintenance tunnels, engine rooms, and cargo bays, hundreds of workers waited. The neural implants that were supposed to track their movements now broadcast false signals, showing them all at their assigned posts. Marcus looked out the control room window at the partially completed warships. The hegemony had forced humans to build these vessels, meant to spread their empire even further across the galaxy. They had never imagined that teaching humans their technology would backfire so completely. "Begin," Marcus ordered. Across the shipyard, humans moved with sudden precision. Security systems went dark, doors sealed, and in the main docking bay, the engines of 3 nearly completed warships hummed to life. The alien overseers found themselves locked in their quarters, watching helplessly as their prized shipyard slipped from their control. When they finally managed to send a distress signal to the hegemony fleet, it was already too late. Marcus sat in the shipyard's command chair, watching as more reports flooded in from around the world. Humanity had learned from every defeat, adapted to every method of control, and passed this knowledge on through their very DNA. Now that shared strength was becoming something the hegemony had never expected, a weapon. The spark of rebellion had ignited, and like humanity's unstoppable evolution, there would be no containing the fire now. The hegemony warship turned Earth's Amazon rainforest into glass with a single shot. From her hidden laboratory deep beneath the ruins of Singapore, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the destruction on a salvaged alien view screen. But instead of fear, she felt a strange sense of excitement as she studied the data flowing across her monitors. "They don't understand what they're doing," she whispered to herself. "Every attack makes us stronger." The door slid open, and Marcus Rodriguez walked in. His face was covered in dust, and his uniform showed burn marks from a recent battle. But his eyes were bright with victory. "The Sydney Resistance survived their attack," he reported, sitting heavily in a chair. "Not only survived, they captured 3 hegemony ships. Our people somehow knew exactly how to fly them. even though they'd never been inside one before. Sarah nodded, pulling up a new set of genetic scans on her screen. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a glowing pattern in the DNA structure. "Every time they attack us, every time they try to destroy a resistance cell, the survivor's DNA changes. But it's not just random mutation. We're actually absorbing combat experience at a genetic level." Outside, distant explosions rattled the laboratory's walls. The hegemony was trying desperately to regain control of Earth's major cities. But for every resistance group they crushed, 3 more appeared. Their neural control implants were now completely useless against humans. Their advanced weapons were being turned against them by workers who suddenly understood alien technology, as if they'd built it themselves. Marcus's comm unit buzzed. He read the message and laughed. "Remember the defense platform they used to destroy Shanghai last week? Our people just captured its twin in Mumbai. They said it felt like they'd been training on it for years. The aliens can't understand how we learned their security codes." Sarah pulled up another screen, this one showing a map of resistance activities worldwide. Red dots marked active battles. Green showed human-controlled areas. The green was spreading faster every day. "It's not just combat skills," she explained, excitement making her voice shake. "Every time they defeat us, we learn. Every weapon they use against us becomes part of our shared knowledge. Their own attacks are teaching us how to beat them." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the complex. On the main screen, they watched as a massive hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace above Earth. Thousands of warships, more than they'd ever sent before. But Sarah was smiling. "They still think this is a normal rebellion," she said, shaking her head. "They don't understand that they're not fighting the same humans they enslaved 30 years ago. We're evolving faster than any species they've ever encountered." Marcus watched as resistance groups worldwide began responding to the new threat. Without any central command, without any way to communicate their plans, human forces moved in perfect coordination. They fought like they had centuries of experience in space combat, adapting tactics faster than the hegemony could counter them. "How is this possible?" he asked, watching as human-controlled ships performed maneuvers that should have been impossible for such inexperienced crews. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard, showing him the latest genetic scans. "Our ancestors survived ice ages, wars, plagues, and countless disasters. That survival knowledge was always locked in our DNA. The hegemony's attacks didn't make us violent. They just woke up the survival skills that were sleeping in our genes." On the screen, the massive alien fleet began to split up, trying to attack multiple targets at once. They didn't realize they were falling into a trap that humanity's collective tactical memory had prepared for them. The storm had broken, but not in the way the hegemony had expected. They had come to crush a rebellion. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most powerful weapon, our ability to transform every defeat into a lesson, every loss into a new strength. The hegemony's supreme commander's crystalline body flashed with patterns of rage as it watched another planet-killer weapon explode in its launch bay. Across 3 sectors of space, the same scene repeated itself. The Empire's most powerful weapons were being destroyed before they could fire. "Impossible," it thundered to its advisors. "How could they have infiltrated 60% of our facilities? The humans have never even seen these weapons before." On a captured hegemony cruiser approaching Mars, Marcus Rodriguez smiled as he read the intercepted transmission. Next to him, Dr. Sarah Chen was buried in her portable lab equipment, studying real-time genetic data from resistance fighters across the galaxy. "They still don't get it," Marcus said, watching as human ships effortlessly dodged enemy fire. "We're not just copying their technology anymore. We're making it better." Sarah looked up from her screens. "The latest data is amazing. Look at this." She pointed to a complex pattern of genetic markers. "When they deployed their first planet killer against Earth last week, our DNA didn't just learn how to stop it. It learned how to improve it. Humans are now innovating faster than the hegemony can develop new weapons." Through the ship's viewport, they could see the massive space battle unfolding around Mars. The hegemony had brought their entire Third Fleet, 10,000 warships, to crush the human resistance once and for all. But something unexpected was happening. Other alien species, ones the hegemony had enslaved centuries ago, were turning against their masters. Human resistance fighters had spread across the galaxy, teaching other races how to break their neural controls, how to fight back. Message from the African Defense Group, a communications officer called out. They've successfully reverse-engineered the hegemony's shield technology, uploading the improvements to all resistance ships now. Marcus watched in awe as the human fleet's shields suddenly glowed with new power. Hegemony weapons that had been devastating their defenses moments ago now bounced harmlessly off the improved shields. That's what really terrifies them, Sarah said, still studying her data. The hegemony takes decades to develop new technology. Their scientists spend entire careers making tiny improvements. But humans, she gestured to the battle outside. We see their technology once, and within months we've made it better than they ever could. A massive explosion lit up space as another hegemony weapon platform fell to the resistance. The aliens had spent a century building it. Humans had learned its weaknesses in days. Sir, a sensor operator called out. We're detecting unauthorized access to the hegemony's central network. It's coming from everywhere. Every human-controlled ship and station is somehow coordinating their cyber attacks. Marcus wasn't surprised. Humanity's shared genetic memory had evolved beyond just combat skills and technical knowledge. They were now acting with a level of coordination that should have been impossible without central command. Sarah's computer beeped with new data. The genetic upgrades are spreading faster than ever, she reported. Every human who breaks free of their control makes it easier for others to do the same. It's like we're all connected by an invisible web of shared experience. The hegemony Third Fleet was in chaos now. Their weapons weren't working as designed. Their secure networks were being breached. And worst of all, their own slave species were turning against them, using human-taught techniques to break free of their control. On his command screen, Marcus watched as reports came in from across the galaxy. The hegemony was losing not just battles, but their entire empire. Everything they had built over 50,000 years was crumbling in the face of humanity's unprecedented evolution. They wanted us to evolve, Sarah said quietly, watching the battle. They just didn't expect us to evolve into something more powerful than them. The grand chamber of the hegemony Central Command had never been so quiet. Its crystalline walls, usually pulsing with the combined light of thousands of ruling-class aliens, were dark. On the massive central display, a simple message flashed in human standard English. You tried to break us. Instead, you taught us how to break empires. Withdraw from Earth, or watch your empire crumble from within. The message was broadcasting from every human-controlled ship, station, and facility across the galaxy. But what terrified the hegemony leaders most wasn't the message itself. It was the fact that humans had somehow gained access to their most secure communication channels, channels that had been unbreakable for millennia. In orbit around Earth, Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of what had once been the hegemony's flagship. Around him, human crews worked with casual expertise on alien technology they had never formally learned to use. Through the viewport, he could see thousands of liberated ships, their crews made up of both humans and other freed species. Message from Dr. Chen, his communications officer reported. She says the latest genetic scans are incredible. Our DNA is still evolving, still adapting. We're not just learning anymore. We're creating entirely new ways to use their technology. Marcus nodded, remembering how it had started. The hegemony had pushed humanity too far, tried to sterilize them out of fear of what they were becoming. Instead, they had triggered something unprecedented, the awakening of humanity's full potential. Deep in her laboratory, Sarah Chen was recording her final research log. Her screen showed the amazing truth. Human DNA had evolved into something entirely new. Every attempt to control humanity had only made them stronger, smarter, more resistant to any form of domination. The hegemony's greatest mistake, she spoke into her recorder, wasn't trying to enslave us. It was forcing us to prove what humans do best: adapt, overcome, and grow stronger from every defeat. The response from the hegemony came 3 days later. Their surrender was unconditional. Their empire, built over 50,000 years of conquering and enslaving other species, had been broken in less than a year by the very slaves they had underestimated. In the aftermath, something unexpected happened. Rather than seek revenge, humanity emerged as a teacher. Across the galaxy, human specialists helped other species recover their freedom, their cultures, their independence. The genetic memory that had helped humans break free was now being used to help others rebuild. Marcus stood with Sarah in the rebuilt Singapore orbital shipyards, watching ships from 100 different species come and go freely. The neural control implants that had once enslaved them were gone, replaced by a new network of cooperation and mutual learning. They never understood what they were dealing with, Sarah said, looking at her final genetic scans. They thought evolution was about becoming more powerful, more controlling. But human evolution was always about something else: becoming better at working together, at learning from our mistakes, at helping others rise with us. On her screen, the final data told the story. Humanity hadn't just evolved to resist control, they had evolved to prevent anyone from ever being controlled again. Their DNA now carried not just the memory of how to break free, but the wisdom to help others do the same. The hegemony had wanted to eliminate humanity because they feared what humans might become. In doing so, they had created exactly what they feared most: an unstoppable force for freedom that would ensure no empire could ever enslave another species again. As the sun set over the Singapore skyline, Sarah made her final log entry. They thought they could tame humanity by forcing us to evolve. They forgot that forcing humanity to evolve is like trying to stop a river with your hands. The pressure only makes us find new paths forward, and once we start flowing, nothing can hold us back. Enough had been enough, and humanity had proven that when pushed too far, they wouldn't just fight back. They would transform the very galaxy itself.